Hi, I'm Marcus Hutsell, and in this video I'm going to cover 4 different types of USB microphones that you can plug directly into your computer to hopefully make your recordings and online meetings sound better. And this isn't about any specific brand or model of microphone. Really, this is more about the types of microphones, the pros and cons of each type, and the best way to use each type. And this video kind of assumes that you're going to be using the USB mic with either the built-in webcam with your laptop or like one of the small USB webcams that has very little video delay. Because if you're using a more professional camera like a DSLR or mirrorless camera via HDMI and perhaps a capture card like an Elgato Camlink or something similar, but then using a USB mic to get the audio into your computer, that will most likely cause your voice to be out of sync with your lips because external professional cameras take some time to process and send the video signal to your computer via HDMI. But the audio will be almost instantaneous if you plug in a USB mic straight into your computer. So keep that in mind. If you're using a camera to send an HDMI feed into your computer, but trying to use a USB mic for your audio, you may need more advanced tools to try to sync them up. And if you're an advanced user, you might not be watching this particular video and already know what to do. But if you're not an advanced user or don't want to spend the time with advanced tools and installing special software and using an expensive external camera, then keep watching because this video is for you. So for those of you that fit this mold, let's just assume that you're using your built-in webcam and need a decent external USB mic for better audio quality. So if you're using your built-in webcam, or again, a typical USB webcam, then you shouldn't have any sync issues with a standard USB microphone. And of course, if you're just using a USB mic to record voiceovers and won't be using your camera, then none of this matters because nobody will see you anyway. So, onwards. All right, I'll cover 4 models of USB mics most commonly used, and those are USB large diaphragm condenser microphones. So this would be something like the Blue Yeti, the Rode NT USB Mini, or even this $35 model from Fifine. USB dynamic microphones, something like the Samsung Q2U or the Shure MV7. USB lavalier microphones, something like this Fifine model. And USB shotgun microphones, like the Rode VideoMic NTG. And a lot of this information applies to non-USB microphones as well, because USB microphones still have the same acoustical characteristics as their analog counterparts, but having modern USB versions can just make it a lot easier and sometimes less expensive to get great quality audio into your computer. And for me, choosing USB microphone is not only about how it sounds, but also how I'm going to use it. If I'm going to use it for videos or virtual calls, I will choose a mic that doesn't have to be close to me, because I just personally don't like nor want a microphone in my camera view for my YouTube videos or my virtual calls. I like a clean video frame with just me talking to the camera and without you or the other meeting attendees seeing or being distracted by seeing my microphone. So I chose a microphone that can be placed a bit further away to be out of my video frame, but still one that works well in that capacity. So for me, a USB shotgun mic was the way to go. And there's nothing wrong with having a microphone in your camera view if that's what you want, but it's just not for me, and it also keeps the area in front of me nice and clean where I can keep things like notes or a cup of coffee and not have a microphone get in my way. So let's go through these 4 types of microphones. And remember that it is really tough to know what the microphone quality is like when ordering online. So make sure to do your research, listen to sound samples, and choose a retailer with a good return policy, because I bought enough cheap mics to know that they also sounded very cheap. And also keep in mind that some retailers cannot accept microphone returns due to health code laws. But I've generally had no problem returning microphones to Amazon. So let's start with USB large diaphragm condenser microphones. You'll see a lot of these on Amazon and in other YouTubers' videos, and if used properly, they can sound generally pretty good. Some of the pros of large diaphragm condenser microphones are they can be inexpensive, they're relatively easy to use, most of them have decent or pretty good sound quality, they're usually directional, and that's definitely something you want. Typically, condenser microphones have a cardioid pickup pattern, which means they pick up mostly from one side of the mic and reject sounds from the opposite side. But it really depends on the particular brand and model and which pickup pattern is applicable to those models, so be sure you know the polar pattern. Polar pattern is the shape or the bubble of sound that the mic picks up, because if you end up with an omnidirectional mic, it will pick up sound from all around the mic, and that may not be good depending on your setup. A cardioid pattern microphone is a good choice for any microphone because it will reject sound from the rear of the mic. And cardioid is the most common type of microphone polar pattern as well. Alright, so what are some of the cons of using USB large diaphragm condenser mics? Well, they need to be used properly. And when I say properly, I mean that they need to be pretty close to you. A lot of ads will show these mics sitting way up and out of the way, or maybe sitting on your desk a bit far away. But they need to actually be placed fairly close to your voice to really get the full effect and a decent sound quality. So with a condenser microphone being more sensitive, it takes less air pressure to move the diaphragm, so they can pick up sound when the mic is further away from you. But remember that the further the mic is away from you, the more ambient or room sound or reverb of that room that this mic is going to pick up in addition to your voice. So if you choose a USB large diaphragm condenser microphone and hang it up over your computer monitor, for example, it isn't necessarily going to improve your sound quality because it's too far away. They can be effective enough if placed right in front of you on your desk, but that may put the mic in your video frame, which you may not want. Which brings it to the next con, which is most of them do not have any EQ controls. So what that means is that they're going to pick up a lot of those low frequencies, typically like, banging around on the desk unintentionally, or the air conditioner running in the next room. All these low rumbling sounds can get into any microphone. So you have to be careful with the noise around you, both the ambient noise if you place the mic too far away from you, as well as vibrations that can resonate from your desk and into the mic. Adding some sort of shock mount will help the mic from picking up some of the low frequency vibrations, but that's just one more thing to set up and or purchase, and it makes your setup larger. And since these types of microphones really need to be close to your mouth, the air from your breath can distort the diaphragm of the mic, what's called plosive sounds, where you can hear the breath on that mic when you say words like, "Please provide pizza promptly." So it's best to use a pop filter, which also may further complicate your setup. All right, the next category is USB dynamic microphones. And again, just like USB large diaphragm condenser microphones, a USB dynamic microphone isn't terribly different from a regular dynamic microphone. They just added direct USB connectivity to get it into a computer. So again, the physics of a USB dynamic mic are pretty much the same as a regular analog version. So something like the Samsung Q2U, which is a great mic for $50, would be a great first choice. What are the pros of using USB dynamic microphones? Well, these types of mics can also be very inexpensive. They're also fairly easy to use. They have pretty good sound quality, again, when used properly. Typically, dynamic microphones also have a cardioid or more directional pickup pattern, which means they also reject sound from the rear of the microphone. It depends on the microphone, and again, some mics are omnidirectional, which means they pick up sound from all around, so just make sure to pay attention to the polar pattern of the mic. And again, I'd start and stick with usually a cardioid pattern microphone. It's usually just a good place to start for everyone. So what, in my opinion, are some of the cons of using USB dynamic microphones? Well, even more so than a condenser microphone, a dynamic microphone really has to be close to your mouth, basically right up against you, which is definitely going to put them in your visual video frame, whether it's recording a video or on a virtual call. And I call this a con because I just don't like a mic in my frame most of the time for the way it looks to my audience. But I also just don't like the mic in my way, blocking my view of my own screen or my keyboard or mouse. But hey, that's me. If you don't mind or simply actually want the microphone in your video frame so everybody else can see it, dynamic microphones are a great way to go. So the reason that dynamic microphones, like this standard SM58, not a USB version, it's just I have it for a prop here. The reason that dynamic microphones need to be right in front of you is because it just takes more air pressure to move that diaphragm inside this mic. So it takes more signal from your voice, and the only way to really do that is to get right up on the mic. If a dynamic microphone is too far away, it's just more difficult for the air to push that diaphragm and get the signal going. Also, most dynamic mics don't have any EQ controls either. So again, you have to be careful with the potential of vibrations from banging around your desk if your microphone stand or your microphone arm is sitting on or attached to your desk, because those vibrations may be picked up by the mic and get into your audio stream. You could do away with some of these vibrations by also putting this or any microphone in a shock mount, but of course, it can complicate your setup. Also, just like condenser mics, since they need to be close to your mouth, it's best to use something like a pop filter to block that breath from distorting the diaphragm, which again, also just may further complicate and enlarge your setup. All right, let's move on to USB lavalier microphones, which of course are meant to be placed directly on your clothing. Something like this fine technology USB lavalier microphone, which is under 20 bucks on Amazon. And again, this video really isn't about specific models. I just happen to have this one, so thought I'd show it to you. The pros of USB lavalier microphones. Well, they're small and very lightweight. They're fairly inexpensive. Again, this model was less than 20 bucks on Amazon. They're usually easy to use. You can put them in many locations, like on your clothing. You can even just attach them to a small tripod and sit them right in front of you. if you attach them to your shirt or blouse, that typically makes them closer to you than some of the other options. So being closer to you, they can reject more room noise and make your voice sound more direct. And now for the cons. There are definitely usually no EQ controls on any lavalier microphone that I've seen, so they can also pick up those low frequency sounds. They can rub on your clothing without you knowing, potentially getting into your meeting or your stream or your recording. Many of them are omnidirectional, which again, before I said is usually not a good thing. So they pick up sounds from every side of the microphone. So they may pick up a little bit more of things like typing sounds from your keyboard or ambient noises. But if it's an omnidirectional mic and it's attached to your shirt and therefore close to you, typically the ambient noise isn't as bad as some of the other options because you don't have to turn the microphone gain up too much on a lavalier mic because it's closer to your voice. So the option of putting something like this on a small stand in front of you still works and frees up your hands and won't rub on your clothing. You'll have to turn the gain up a little more in the sound settings on your computer, and therefore having it on a stand in front of you as an option means it may pick up more ambient or room noise. And of course, if it's not wireless and you have it clipped to your clothing, you're obviously going to be attached to the computer until you take off the mic. So keep that in mind and don't stand up and walk away and pull your whole computer off your desk. That'd be bad. And our last category is USB shotgun microphones. And at this time, April 2021, there's really only one specific USB shotgun mic that you can plug directly into your computer. And that's the mic I'm using right now, the Rode VideoMic NTG. And I really like this microphone. It really is a versatile mic. It kind of goes along with the DSLR and mirrorless world of cameras and gear because it can mount right on your camera and plug into your camera with a standard 1/8" audio cable. But Rode also gave this mic direct USB connectivity so you can use it with your computer without any other external interfaces. So even though this category of direct USB shotgun mics is small, we can go over the general pros and cons of any shotgun mic. And some of those pros are that they are more directional. They are built to be more directional. Almost all of them are a supercardioid pattern, so they reject more sound from the sides of the microphone. And this means that they can be placed a little bit further away and still capture great audio. Not far away, mind you, but further away to get out of your video frame. Many of them actually do have some EQ controls. Not all of them, but a lot of them will have those low frequency roll-off switches. My favorite pro of using a shotgun mic is simply the fact that I can have it out of my video frame. And now for some of the cons of using a shotgun mic in general, not just a USB version. They're generally much more expensive. You can get a fairly inexpensive USB dynamic mic, and you can also get a fairly inexpensive USB large diaphragm condenser mic. But shotgun mics in general, to get a good one, they're just going to be a lot more expensive. And obviously, again, since there are very few USB direct models, any shotgun mic that you do get is going to require an additional external audio interface to get that signal into your computer. And then we have to think about mounting a shotgun microphone. If you're going to mount it up and out of the way, it might require additional mounting arms or equipment to get it into a position where it needs to be. So the USB shotgun microphone is a very small category. It's basically one at this point, but it's a great one. All right, so those are 4 types of USB microphones. There are pros and cons to each type, and a lot of it rests on, number 1, how you want your setup to sound, and number 2, how you want your setup to look to your virtual audience. Keeping in mind that typically large diaphragm condenser mics, dynamic mics, and lavalier mics are all going to need to be pretty close, if not in your video frame, to be the most effective. For me, both the quality of sound and how I want my video frame to look are important to me. You decide what's most important to you. I hope this information was helpful so you can select something that works for you, given the caveats of each type of USB microphone. All right, good luck. Have fun.